Hello learner, welcome once again to Manifested Online Classes. My name is James Kenyani. We are going to proceed with our topic on longitude and latitudes. In our today's lesson, we are going to look at the equator and the Greenwich prime meridian. So the lesson is the equator and the Greenwich prime meridian. The objective of the lesson is to enable the learner to know what the equator is and the Greenwich prime meridian is, as they are going to be reference standards for our lessons. So it is to enable the learner to know the equator and the Greenwich prime meridian as reference positions on Earth. So straight again to our globe. We had our globe here, the classroom globe. The classroom globe. So earlier I had said this is the North Pole and that is the South Pole. So to make you understand what I'm going to talk about, because there are those lines that run right from the top going to the bottom. So the meridian which passes through Greenwich in London, there is a meridian which passes through Greenwich in London. You just locate it, Greenwich prime meridian in London, that is 75, that is 90, 45, 30, 15, 0. It is this one. Lana. It happens to pass near a place in Accra. Some of you know where Accra is, in Ghana. I'm talking about this line. This is the Greenwich prime meridian. It was named that because it passes near a place called Greenwich in London. So its reference degree is 0. Its reference degree is 0. So it is that line that goes through that. When we talk about the equator, it is the line that cuts on the surface that would cut that globe into equal halves, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. It is in fact the line I talked about being the only great circle that runs from west to east. It is the only great circle that runs from west to east. Otherwise, all the other lines moving through the North Pole right through the South Pole, we refer to them as all great circles in the first lesson. So you can start by saying it is denoted 0 degrees. And note that when it is 0 degrees, learner, it is going to be a reference meridian. A reference meridian. Although in most of the other time we shall call it a longitude. It will be a reference meridian or longitude when we are considering the other lines. When we are considering the other lines. So you can either move, when you are considering the Greenwich prime meridian, you can either, as you are here, you can either move to the east of it or to the west of it. In earlier lessons, you did rotation. A full complete turn will be 360 degrees. 360 degrees. But when you are looking at this Greenwich prime meridian, when you move half of it, that is 180 degrees. So it will cut, the prime meridian will cut this part into the western part and the eastern part. So the maximum of the longitudes you can have, the maximum meridian is 180 degrees. It can either be west or east because it will be at the center on the other side. The maximum of a meridian you can have is 180 degrees, either west or east. So that is what we also get. So I've said it is where other meridians or longitude are measured from either west or east. So the maximum is 180 degrees east or west. It can either be east or west because it is just 1 point. Whether you name it east or west, because that's where they meet. So as I said, you'll better understand this if I cut through the center of the earth. I'll cut through this line that happens to divide the north and the south into two equal halves. That line is called the equator. The line on the globe, the line on the earth that will divide the earth into the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere is the equator, So you realize when we talk about the longitudes, we are moving east or west. But when we come to those other lines, moving south or north, we shall talk of another word. We shall move, we shall be talking about a latitude. We shall be talking about a latitude. So the equator is the line cutting the earth at the center into the northern and southern So learner, the best we can do is cut through, as I said. I'm going to have that earth. I'll cut through. I'll assume I've cut a section through the earth. When I cut a section, you'll actually see the lines of meridians, how they come, how they move from west to east. So I'm going to cut a section for you to show a cut line. So if I cut a line through the equator, dividing the earth two hemispheres, I get the plane below. It is from that plane that you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I've cut through that sphere. So if I cut through, this is what I get. So that line is actually the equator I've cut through. So that's the center of the earth. It's like an orange I've cut into two, Lana. It's like an orange which I've cut into two. So there is O. O is the center of the earth. The earth's center. O is the earth's center. So I'll draw lines. when we are talking about the meridians, I'll draw that. So this will be 0 degrees, 0 degrees. So this is when you move to the west, towards the east, and this is towards the what, Lana? West. So I've cut through the earth. So if you reach this place, if there is a point, this will be 90 degrees east. This will be 45 degrees east. This will be 135 degrees east. And at that point, 180 degrees we can have east or west. Here I'll have 45 degrees west, 90 degrees west, 135 degrees west. That's why I was talking about the maximum of the meridians you can get is 180. The maximum of the meridians you can get is 80. So that is what you get when you cut that section. So the angle subtended at the center, you find this one is 45 degrees. It will give that meridian. It gives that meridian Lana. So the angle subtended at the center or on the plane of the equator. So as I talk, I've actually just cut through the equator. So this is the equator. As you saw, the equator goes round on the plane of the equator. The plane of the equator. When I say an arc of the equator, I'm referring to something like this. So this is the angle subtended. That's why we shall call this 45, longitude 45 degrees east, meridian 45 degrees east by an arc of the equator between the Greenwich prime meridian. So you'll find the Greenwich prime meridian will be here, between so that angle is called the longitude. So I can say the longitude of A is 45 degrees. The longitude of A is 45 degrees. The longitude of B is 90 degrees. The longitude of C is 135 degrees east. The longitude of F is 45 degrees west. The longitude of G is 90 degrees west. The longitude of H is 135 degrees west. When I come and draw that, I've just cut that, but I can also show it as a globe. Can show it somewhere as a small globe. Because one will wonder. So there I cut at the equator, but on the globe, this is what will appear. So if I'm drawing that line at 0, So this will be the equator. So this will be the Greenwich prime meridian. Which is 0 degrees. So that was actually the center I was talking about. The center. Oh, if I want to get position A, it's actually here. Actually, this position A is here. And that is, it's 45 degrees. It has been measured from the Greenwich prime meridian. If I want to get E, that will be position of E. If I want to get C, I can just prolong that. C will be somewhere there. If I want to get F, F is here. And that is G. And that position will give H. Will give H. So this is how it looks on the globe. How it looks on the globe. Position on the globe. On the globe. So just as a recap, we are looking at the Greenwich prime meridian. The meridian which passes through Greenwich at London is called the Greenwich prime meridian, and it is 0 degrees, neither to the east or west. The equator is the line cutting the earth into, at the center, into the northern and the northern. This line is actually what has been projected here. So this is this line. That is actually that line, Lana. That is actually that line. That is the equator. So I've cut through. This is the plane. That is the plane I'm talking about, Lana. So I've used that plane to explain what longitude is. The longitude is, it is that angle of a point. If I want the longitude of A, the angle subtended between the Greenwich prime meridian, there, you see that one is 45 degrees. So you've described what the equator is and what the Greenwich prime meridian is. So all the other longitudes are measured from the Greenwich prime meridian, the angle subtended from the Greenwich prime meridian. So with that, as we said, you cannot chew a lot at the same time. When I talk about a globe, it will be this one. It will just be that one. This was a plane cut through the equator, cutting an orange into 2 parts. You remain with the bottom one. So I was looking at the top of that surface. So the Greenwich prime meridian. When you hear the word longitude, longitude, you'll always be moving from west to east, east to west, or vice versa. But when we'll come to another word, latitude, which you are not learning now, you'll be moving from north to south or south to north. So thank you very much for that, audience, and work out the assignment before we meet in the next lesson. Thank you very much for your audience, and continue enjoying our lessons at Manifested Online Classes. Bye-bye.